Take 2. Welcome to Why Lean Six Sigma. Last week we began looking at the charter, but before we get started on the next part of the charter, let's review where we've been. Again, we want to be able to improve the value to our stockholders. We do that by growing our business revenues and improving our return on invested capital. Those things are usually found on balance sheets or profit and loss statements, and those get deployed down into the organization as goals, budgets, targets, etc. And we look for problems in those, and then we say, let's fix those. But you can't just fix them because those are outputs. And so what we want to do is we want to convert that business problem, business issue, into a process problem. We do that. And then we say, let's figure out what's causing those business or those process problems by converting them into a transfer function where we find the true root causes. Then we convert that process or statistical problem into a process or statistical solution. And then we convert that back into a business solution. That's what DMAIC tries to do. Now again, as we look at the transfer function, that's where we started with our project charter last week. We want to look at the business case, again, something that's found on that's dollars, usually measured in dollars, business dollars. We convert that into an opportunity statement, and then this week, we're going to talk about how we put that into a goal statement. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about before we get there. Do we have a Lean Six Sigma project? And I'm going to give credit to my good friend Ted Snyder for drawing this up on flip charts as we've taught this class, because that's often a question. Well, is every project a Six Sigma project? Obviously not. But let's look at it on this grid. On the y-axis, we have increasing knowledge of our solutions, and on the x-axis, increasing knowledge of our root causes. When we don't know our root causes, that's the domain of Lean Six Sigma. Typical Six Sigma, DMAIC projects, capital D, capital M, capital A, capital I, capital C. And that's, obviously we don't know the solution, and so that's where we want to do a Six Sigma project, if we've got something like that. Now we need to scope it, we need to write a charter, but that's what we want to do. As we move on and we kind of know our root causes, we have a pretty good idea where those root causes are, or at least we can find them. Those are really the domain of Six Sigma blitzes, projects that will only take 1 to 10 weeks to accomplish. We like those projects. They're easy to do, usually smaller in scope, because we have an idea of the root cause. Then there are those where we have the root cause, we also know the solution, and we want to get those done. Now that can be just a task list or a RACI diagram. And those are usually from 1 day to 2 weeks. Let's get those done. Let's just do those. Now, do I charter those? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But what about that other box? What do we do here? What do we do when we have a solution but we don't know the root cause? Well, the first thing we got to do is wake up. Those will eventually become projects in due time because they're solutions thrown up on a wall. They stick. They're hard to get rid of. We want to stay away from those potential places. Now, I don't, and I've said this before, I do not mind doing the 3 other projects. I do not mind putting just do-its on a project charter. Certainly put them on the post-it notes as we select our projects. But I don't mind writing a charter because some companies have all kinds of task lists. You know what happens to those task lists? They go into a drawer and they're never heard from again. But if you put something in a charter, you've thought about it, it stays in front, you review your charters maybe at a sub-business level once a week to see progress, you're much more likely to get those blitzes done and accomplished and value brought to your organization. So again, let's go back and review our charter. So why is the business plan, right? That's what we want to do from a business standpoint. We want to convert that business where our problem is into some kind of business statement. Then we convert that business pain into a process pain. And again, we usually find those by investigating process operations. If we've done this right, if we have done this right, then it's pretty easy to write the goal statement. And we'll ask ourselves the question, how much impact can we make on that process-wide, not the big why, impact can we make on that process-wide, not the big why, but the process why, because you can't fix an output, you can't fix that dollar output without finding the root causes. So we want to get the process output. We want to fix the process output that will yield the business change we want, and how long will it take? So here's some examples. Fix Service Center 2 by eliminating positions and automating the shift in reporting process and training new service representatives. That's not a goal statement for any proper opportunity statement, right? We talked about that last week. A better example would be decrease the lead time for Service Center 2 shift in reporting by 2 hours to 15 minutes by the end of the quarter. And I'm okay with adding the financial results if we do that to the end of the goal statement. Those are all proper and fine to do. Now last week we had the problem of the video was way too long, so I'm going to try to shorten them up, only talking about the goal statement. But the reality is, if we've done this right, then the opportunity statement leads to the goal statement because we know what the business is, and vice versa. It's good to look at what we're trying to do, what are we about, and these things all work together to give us a good goal statement for our projects. As usual, if you like this video, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, and we will see you next week.